Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We are live now, ma'am.
Very good afternoon and a very warm welcome, dear friends, to yet another enriching series of the NPSC educational webinars. We are today with Dr. Joseph Emmanuel, who needs no introduction. He's the Director, Academics, CBSE. Today, we are going to be discussing with him the role of CBSE in standardization of curriculum and assessment beyond COVID-19. But for those who do not know the background of Dr. Joseph Emmanuel, he's an alumni of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, and this would be news to all of you. So let me quickly take you through a brief bio of Sir. Dr. Joseph Emmanuel is a postgraduate in commerce and also possesses a doctorate degree in financial management. He started his career as an executive officer in the Institute of Chartered Accountants, and he moved on to be the officer on special duty, and he had successfully introduced NEET, the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test for MBBS and BDS courses in the country. As Secretary CBSE, he was instrumental in operationalizing the COEs, which we today benefit so immensely from, for teacher training in different parts of the country. And what an accomplishment, and something that we're all so proud of. After which he played a and during this entire tenure, he played a very pivotal role in bringing innovation in the field of educational administration, such as integration of technology with examinations, e-affiliation, training and capacity building of teachers and principals. Before this assignment, as he moved on, he had been instrumental in training all his staff for getting on to the digital platform. And that was an important move in the digitalization of CBSE. Today, he holds the portfolio of Director Academics. And of course, we all know that he is such an important decision maker in each of the boards and the committees that we hear about from the CBSE through its various circulars. So as CBSE schools and the larger fraternity, we've always been following what the CBSE has been doing right through. The past 1.5 years has been extremely challenging, and belonging to the larger fraternity of the CBSE, we're so happy that CBSE, along with all of us, and when we rate the number of hardworking people in these 1.5 years, I would say doctors, teachers, and CBSE fall in that category of ranking. And CBSE has adapted itself so beautifully through these turbulent times and has been up and about working in a dynamic, ever challenging environment that COVID-19 has posed to us. We would now request you to take us through a brief update on, and give us a brief update on what the CBSE has been planning for the schools beyond COVID-19. And sir, today, the Matthew effect has been doing the rounds. The Matthew effect, which has been projected by McKinsey, it says the rich grow richer and the poor grow poorer. And that is in the field of economics. But the same effect has been extended to the field of education. Today, they say that the children who knew will know more, and the children who couldn't perform are going to be lagging behind. So this is a huge concern for all of us in the educational fraternity. So I'm sure the policies of the CBSE that you have envisaged and you're going to be talking about today would cover this and more. So a very, very warm welcome on behalf of the NPSC and all my executive members of the NPSC. I have Dr. Anju Tandon, Principal of the Bharati Vidya Bhavan. We have Dr. Sudha Acharya, who's the Secretary, NPSC. Meenakshi Kushwa, who's the treasurer, and she looks after the finances of the NPSC. And we have the additional secretaries, Dr. Mrs. Aditi Misra. I keep giving her the doctorate honorary to her. We have Asha Prabhakar, who's the president of the Bal Bharati School, and these are principals who worked very, very closely with you, and they don't need any introduction. And with those words, sir, I'll hand over the mic to you, please. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Malini ma'am, President of the NPSC, all the executive members, Madam Aditi Mishra, Dr. Sudha Acharya, Madam Meenakshi Kushwaha, Dr. Anju Tandon, Mrs. Meenakshi Prabhagar, and all the principals and school leaders who are listening to me on this platform. So a great evening to each one of you. It has been a very, very enriching experience for me to be with you and to work with you in CBSE in the last so many years. In fact, I was learning a lot. In fact, all of you are contributed for the present level of CBSE, particularly the NPSC schools. You have a very big role in shaping up the present global position of CBSE. CBSE, no doubt, is one of the leading national as well as international board. And to achieve this position, as well as to retain this position, all of you have contributed and you are still working very, very hard. In fact, it is not the administration that takes an educational institute or institution to the top position. It is the academia and their contribution and innovation that decides the future of any educational institutions. So in the present crisis situation, as Mrs. Malini has very rightly said, all of us should come together, work together to reduce the Matthew effect. Our country has a very, very difficult as well as very tough situation in the past few months, particularly. And for the past 1.5 years, children are out of school. But fortunately, as far as CBSE is concerned, almost more than 90% of our students are able to connect with the schools and they are able to continue their education. It's a very, very, happy situation for the CBSE schools and students as compared to rest of the country and the other schools around. More than, as per the survey conducted by the board last year, more than 90% of our schools are able to connect with their students in one form or the other and able to continue the teaching learning in the pandemic situation. And globally, more than 150 crore children are facing challenges in continuing their education. And India also almost 30%, around 5 to 6 crore children are finding it extremely difficult to continue their education because of the socio-economic background. But let us all come together and do our level best to support the children and their families, the teachers, and the people around us to overcome the pandemic situation. So it's a collective responsibility. Let us take this challenge together and face this challenge and being supportive to each other, particularly to the students, teachers, their parents, and the institution as a whole. Let us be supportive to each other and let us come more and more effective in tackling the problems thrown by the pandemic. So when I got this invitation, I was very glad to meet all of you because technology has brought us this advantage, particularly after the pandemic. We have met on this digital platform on several occasions. Even NPSC was conducting a series of webinars for its member schools. And in general, all these efforts are a kind of enriching experience for the school leaders and teachers. And this is a way of learning for life and lifelong learning, and it contributes a lot towards achievement of excellence in the field of education. I congratulate the present leadership and all the members of the NPSC for coming up with this noble venture and taking the interest of the education forward in the tough, difficult pandemic situation. And also, I thank all the schools of CBSE, particularly NPSC schools who are present here, to support CBSE in carrying on its responsibilities in the last 1 year. And when the examinations were cancelled, all of you supported the board with different suggestions and solutions, how to tackle the situation and how to uh, measure the learning outcome and how can we come out with an alternative assessment strategy. And thank you for all your contributions and all your support, all your suggestions and guidance, so that in a situation like this, even different educational institutions from all over the world, they extended support to CBSE, like Education Testing Service in US, ACER. They all they all wanted to support CBSE, but without anybody's support, we were able to come out with a solution which is acceptable to the whole schools and student community as well as the world at large. So that way, the solutions come out by the CBSE and the CBSE schools are extremely well accepted. Even the Honorable Supreme Court has approved it. So without any problem, our children will be getting their certification. And our present role is to give them a realistic assessment. The moderation and base year, these are all reference for maintaining certain standards. But otherwise, there is a collective responsibility for every institution and the school leaders and the teachers to give realistic assessment of the students in the pandemic situation. And let us take it as a beginning. In fact, the assessment should happen in the classroom on a regular basis. It should be an assessment for learning and as learning rather than off learning all the time. So what we are doing in this pandemic time out of compulsion, this should become a habit for every institution in the days to come. Then only we can take our school education to the next level. So under the present circumstances and after the launching of the National Education Policy 2020, how CBSE is planning to help its affiliated schools and how we are planning to take the education sector to the next level in the days to come. So majorly 4 areas have been identified by the board for making intervention. One is pedagogical as well as teaching learning area. Second is assessment reforms. Third one is capacity building of the teachers. And the fourth one is systemic reforms like school quality assessment and accreditation or assurance, whatever we may call. So these are the 4 major areas wherein CBSE is going to invest in the days to come, and which in turn will transform the teaching learning in the scenario of CBSE's affiliated schools. So thank you so much for accepting my suggestion. I'll take all of you through this small presentation so that you will be more clear about what CBSE is doing. And thereafter, we will go to the next assessment session. Can you see my
yes,
presentation?
sir, we can. Yes.
Yes.
I think we can go to the slideshow, sir.
I'll just put it on the slide. Clear?
Perfect, sir.
So innovations and reforms which CBSE is planning to introduce in the days to come. That is our major point of discussion today. So about CBSE, you don't need any introduction. So CBSE, which in India, we are the pioneers in introducing reforms in the school education. At present, we have presence in India as well as 25 other foreign countries. More than 25,000 schools are part of the CBSE system today. more than 2 crores students. It is, as per the latest statistics, it is 2.5 crore students are part of our school system. So CBSE has only 25,000 schools, but almost 10% of the school-going students in the country are part of the CBSE system. And 12 lakh teachers are part of the CBSE school system. So the prime focus of the board is to lay down educational standards through affiliation. Then reforms in examination and evaluation practices, innovations in teaching learning methodologies by devising student-centered paradigms. So this is the prime focus of the board. And whatever happened has happened, but the future belongs to us. We must take charge of the future and lead the nation towards development. That is the motive and objective. So the focus of CBSE's new initiatives and reforms are aiming to create an ecosystem to bring excellence in every affiliated school. The prime target is moving from rote learning to competency-based learning. You have been hearing this, and many circulars have been issued by the board. So this is the prime focus for the last many years from the British era onwards. Our education system is a continuation of the British-led education system. And though British and other Western developed countries, they have moved forward towards competency-based education, we still continued with the same pattern of rote memorization. So it's very important to equip our students with 21st century skills. So for that, there is a need to bring reforms in the examination pattern, the way we ask questions in the examination, the way we analyze statistics of the examination, the way we frame the questions. More and more systemic reforms are needed. IRT analysis, then CTT, classical test theory, all those modern as well as refined statistical tool needs to be used for framing questions and to bring changes in the examination. Training of teachers in experiential and other learner-centric pedagogies. This is another prime focus. International benchmarking. It is very important to maintain international standards in both teaching, learning, as well as the assessment. So how are we planning to do this? What are the curricular and pedagogical reforms we are initiating? Many of the things you are aware, let us connect it with the main objective and purpose. So allowing the learner to have an opportunity to learn in child's own pace and according to his abilities. That is why introduction of 2 level of mathematics was done for class 9 and 10. Now it has also been extended to class 11 and 12 to applied mathematics. And in the days to come, once the national curriculum framework is out, then we will be introducing 2 level courses in more and more subjects. Designating principals as pedagogical leaders and preparation of annual pedagogical plan. This is another main decision board has taken to develop vision in the educational leaders or the school leaders and the principals. And as a practice, every institution should develop their own vision. Every institution is different. Their socio-cultural background is different. But every institution, it is very important to have their own vision and clear target for achieving objectives for the future. Mandatory adoption of learning outcome and their mapping with curriculum. So this is the first step towards achieving competency-based education as well as skilling of our students. So NCERT has developed learning outcome from class 1 to 12 up to 10. They have officially released. 11 and 12 is also in public domain. So based on the learning outcome prescribed by the NCERT, whatever topics and concepts are there, that needs to be mapped. And after teaching of every concept and topic, it is also very essential to assess the child's ability, whether the child has acquired this skills and ability, whatever is mentioned in the learning outcome document. So accordingly, every teacher should have an idea about the learning outcome, the purpose, and connecting the learning with the real life. That is what mandatory adoption of learning outcome is aiming for. Implementation of experiential learning, pedagogies like art and sports integrated learning, storytelling competition. Now, the entrepreneurial skill-based education. All these are various ways of promoting skill set and attributes of children. Our aim should be to help every learner to achieve their life goal. According to the interest, aptitude, and ability, every child has a potential to reach up to a level, and the education system should support the child to achieve their learning as well as the life goals of every child. Mainstreaming of health and physical education, the initiative was to connect the physical and health education with the other scholastic areas. So through interdisciplinary approach, the planning was to promote health education while teaching every subject. So art integrated learning, sports integrated learning, our entrepreneurship learning, all these are various ways to help the learner to achieve their life goals as well as to find joy while undergoing learning in this school. Introduction of art integrated project to work for classes 1 to 10 as well as its extended version for 11 and 12. This was also done with the same objective. So competency-based education. Let us see how we are planning to bring competency-based education. The objective, as I have already said, personalized learning opportunity to every learner. So advancement over mastery. This is another objective. Measurable, explicit competencies. So while teaching every concept and topic, how the learner has conceived it, how the learner has attained mastery over it, all those things should be measured while teaching learning happens in the classroom. So connecting the learning with the real life, that is the key to competency-based education. So clear learning outcome, understanding of the clear learning outcome for both the teacher, school system, learner, and parents is all very important. So differentiated timely support. Every learner is different. So according to the need of the learner, the system should provide support. So the learning environment has to become a collaborative environment. There has to be perfect communication between teachers and students, parents and teachers, and management and teachers, management and parents. So a 360-degree feedback mechanism as well as communication mechanism is very important for creating an environment of competency-based education. So meaningful positive assessment. So here, all the three types of assessment as learning, assessment for learning, and assessment of learning should happen in frequent intervals and frequent with more and more frequency, so that proper feedback to the learner is given at the right time, so that corrective measures can be taken by the learner as well as the parents. So creating an ecosystem for competency-based education in CBSE schools is the prime target. So for that, what we have done? So we have done, as far as content is concerned, mandatory adoption of learning outcome and their mapping with the curriculum. So you must have seen the term manuals, teacher analysis by CBSE, class 6 to 10. For all these subjects, term manuals are underway. We have already released the science and mathematics term manuals. And there is another document of mapping of the entire NCERT curriculum from class 1 to 10 with the learning outcome as well as the assessment instruments. That is also already available on the CBSE website. So these documents are brought out to help the teachers to initiate competency-based education. Planning of lessons by selecting developmentally appropriate content, teacher resource, how to use resources on Diksha, handbooks and manuals for different stakeholders. These are all various initiatives in that direction. And pedagogy, preparation of annual pedagogical plan with a clear vision, taking every learner into mind. The school leadership has to have a plan, then every teacher has to have a plan, then proper feedback between all the stakeholders for the purpose of development of the child. Implementation of experiential learning pedagogies, mandatory art and sports integrated learning, connecting all learning with real life. These are all part of various pedagogical practices adopted for promoting competency-based education. So capacity building is very essential. Capacity building is the key towards achieving success in the competency-based education. So online teacher training module on CBSE, on CB, on Diksha, self-learning material on Diksha, these are all available. Also, Center of Excellences are conducting so many programs towards capacity building of the teachers for competency-based education. So in the assessment, how we are tackling this competency-based education issue. So introduction of case-based questions, which all of you might have noticed from the year 2019 onwards, 10% incremental increase is there in the question paper design of the CBSE. Unfortunately, 2020 and 21, we could not roll out these questions to the schools, but in the days to come, by the year 2025, the question paper design of the CBSE in the board examination will change with 25% competency-based questions across the subjects. So multiple modes of assessment like portfolios, MCQs, reflective assessment, these are all promoted. Project work, these are all promoted towards competency-based education. Creative and critical thinking weekly and monthly program, which is available on Diksha as well as CBSE website. These are practice questions released by the CBSE for assessing the achievement of learning outcome, as well as whether the child is connected with the concept and real life. So that is the idea. So these handbooks and manuals released by the CBSE, these are also towards the competency-based education. 21st century skills, that's a handbook. Cyber safety, that's a handbook. Cogito and the question book, these are comics book released in that direction. Teacher's resource for achieving learning outcome, class 1 to 10. So mapping of the concept with the NCERT's learning outcome. Then inclusive education manual. So it's very important to have an inclusive approach. Many of you are doing it. Handbook of joyful learning. Physical education class 11 and 12 book. Mathematical literacy practice book for students. Teachers energized resource manuals 10. Class science and mathematics 6 and 10 are already out. For other subjects are also, these manuals will be released soon. For like mathematical literacy, for scientific literacy as well as reading literacy, 2 more practice books are being released. These are also available on the website of CBSE. You can make use of these resources for promoting competency-based learning and assessment in the schools. So various enrichment activities. So this is also very important. Participation of students in various activities to develop skill set and abilities in the learner. So Aryabhatta Ganesh Challenge for mathematical ability. Heritage India Quiz to connect the learner with the vast and enriching history of the country. Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat. There's a lot of activity. So in fact, last year, after linking Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat with the art integrated project work, we have received more than 1.4 crore projects on the website of CBSE. That is a very welcome move. Similarly, in all the enrichment activities, whether it is an activity conducted by CBSE or a similar activity planned in the school, every learner should be given an opportunity so that both scholastic as well as post-scholastic areas of the child will be attended to, and the child will get complete opportunity for the overall development and become a complete human being. CBSE Science Challenge, Science Exhibition, Hello India, Expression Series, Reading Challenge. So Reading Challenge from class 6 onwards, this project we are initiating from the current academic session. And 2 years CBSE Reading Vision is also being launched for the affiliated schools and students. So the objective is to look at all overall development of the child, as mentioned in the NEP, for achieving holistic development of the learner. So in the assessment and examination area, what are we doing? Here, the first point, strengthen the structure of internal assessment in all the subjects by dividing in pen and paper section, multiple activities like project, portfolio, subject enrichment activities, and given due weightage in final examination. In class 10, very structured way, this internal assessment is being done. So this year, because of the pandemic, we could not do the board examination. And after a lot of deliberations and discussion, it has been now coming to the final stage that from 21-22 onwards, we will be creating a platform for the schools for submitting various internal assessment results with the CBSE's website, so that at the end of the session, schools will be in a position to objectively assess the learner based on the evidence submitted on the CBSE website. So two-level mathematics examination, basic standard in class 10. This is the purpose is to cater to different kinds of learners to reduce overall student stress level. Preparation of competency-based test items for classes 1 to 5. This has already been done based on the NEP vision, which will be released very soon through the CBSE portal. The idea is to catch the children from the young age onwards and handhold them towards competency-based education. So asking questions in the board examination will not help the learner to develop the skill set and abilities. So from the early age onwards, these skill set and abilities needs to be developed in the learner. So to help the teachers, sample questions will be released for the primary classes very soon through the CBSE academic website. Introduction of competency-based items initiated the task modifying design of question papers by adding 10% questions, testing application of knowledge and skills in real-life context in each successive year till the year 25. This we have already discussed. Every year there will be 10% incremental increase in the competency-based questions in the question paper of the CBSE. So idea is to move away from the rote learning pattern of assessment and objective assessment of the children based and assessing their skill set and abilities based on their mastery in the subject. Change in the question paper design by adding 33% internal choices in the question paper and increase in the percentage of objective type questions to 25% to reduce stress on students and equip them with the latest skills as per the global demand. This is another change brought in by the board. So CBSE is also in the process of preparation of sample holistic and multidimensional progress report or progress card, reflecting the progress and uniqueness of each learner in the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. So once it is ready, CBSE is also preparing an IT platform which can be used by every school free of cost, which will be available both on Diksha as well as CBSE's academic site. We are waiting for NCRT to share the rubrics as well as the assessment framework. Once NCRT's inputs are received, we will finalize the holistic progress card or report card. So from early childhood care and education onwards till the time they leave the schools, every year the child's achievement can be recorded and it can be used for the development of the child, for giving feedback as well as for the constructive development of the child. Key stage assessment in grades 3, 5, and 8 to test achievement of basic learning outcomes and application of knowledge in real life situation. So this is a new addition to CBSE system. We have not been involved in the assessment of children till grade 8, but from the academic session 2021-22 onwards, another key stage assessment will be rolled out by the board for the affiliated schools and students, and a kind of computer-based adaptive testing to identify the learning level of every child, the skill set, abilities, and if some child is gifted, that giftedness should also be brought out. So idea is to handhold every learner in learner's own pace and according to his learner's ability, and also give feedback to teachers and parents at the right time to take corrective measures. So every school will get feedback based on the performance of their students in this examination, but there will not be any individual result because we are not making any change in the present criteria. The authority of deciding pass fail will remain with the schools. So this will be an additional support to the schools and the school system to identify various levels in which the learners are moving forward and where and the requirement for the teachers for the capacity building. So this will happen in a complete unthreatening environment. There will not be uh, any threatening or any pass fail criteria attached to it, and completely these assessment tools will be used to give feedback to the school system. Establishment of Center for Assessment for providing research-based questions to improve the quality of all examinations as well as training of paper setters and evaluators to standardize assessment and make it consistent with the international parameters. As you are aware, at the international level, development of assessment framework, assessment rubrics, and mapping of these rubrics with the content as well as the learning outcome, skill set, and abilities. It's very common. But here in our system, this is completely new, but we cannot uh, stay idle and we should adopt internationally best practice. So this will help identify the best talent uh, through the examinations conducted by the CBSE system. So after the examination, again, the skill set, uh, abilities, and other attributes mapped along with the questions can be analyzed with the help of statistical tools. Then based on the report generated, uh, it can be used for improvement of the system in a better way, as well as it can also support the schools to take a remedial action as well as timely intervention for for any changes required in the teaching learning followed in the uh, followed in the institution at present. Provision of on-demand examination from 2022 onward, it has already been uh, on the cards. When we are ready with the online uh, assessment tools and assessment platform, our children will be in a position to appear for examination according to their demand or as per the different schedules announced by the board. Provision for improvement examination from the year 20 it has already been implemented. So Center for Assessment and Research, it will be another vertical within CBSE as part of the academic unit, and this unit will take care of the key stage assessment at 3, 5, and 8 to conduct capacity development program for key stakeholders in collaboration with the COE to develop resource material on assessment and evaluation. So various reports, various resource materials, all will be developed by this center. Provide support for ensuring reliability and validity of assessment tools, to build in-house capacity in psychometric with specific focus on ART analysis, to carry out action research on assessment and evaluation. These are the various objectives of this assessment center, and this will be coming out. It has already established, and maybe in the coming year or in a year or two, it will be a full-fledged activity part of the affiliation unit of of academic unit of the CBSE. So systemic reforms, what are we looking at? So to test achievement of age-appropriate basic learning outcomes and application of knowledge in the real-life situation, key stage assessment is being planned. It will help the teachers to guide their instruction and improve students' learning, help students to improve their own learning, will be a diagnostic and assessment, will be a diagnostic assessment conducted in an unthreatening manner, will facilitate all-round development of students, help summarize about the quality of students' learning. So this will be helping the schools in this manner. So it is going to be a big shift from access to education, from access to education to quality education. So the focus will be on achieving quality. So in view of great need to improve quality of school education, CBSE has developed standards framework for school quality assessment. So SQUA document is already available on the website. This document has already released. All school transformation through school quality assessment framework. So it will enable the schools to deliver quality education. So in the first phase, CBSE is planning to launch self-assessment tools as well as peer assessment mechanism. But in the years to come, within 1 or 2 years, external validation will be there, so that every school will ensure certain level of quality standards which mark that international parameters. All school transformation and quality enhancement, recognition of excellence, promotion of accountability and empowerment of school leaders. These are all objectives of the SQUA framework. So self-assessment tool for schools to review their performance against predefined indicators, self-explanatory and non-threatening framework, ranking of schools will happen, focuses on continuous school improvement and quality performance, and enables schools to charter self-improvement plans, provision of hand-holding, support, and mentorship. These are all various support planned by CBSE for the effective implementation of the SQUA framework. And what are we trying to achieve out of this? Effective scholastic process, strong leadership, emphasis on core scholastic areas, and promotion of inclusive practices. All these objectives will be achieved through the SQUA process. So these are the initiatives planned at CBSE. We will be witnessing in the present academic session as well as in the days to come. So I stop my presentation here. So broadly, four areas will be covered by the board. One is teaching, learning, and pedagogical reforms, assessment reforms, systemic reforms, and the capacity building of the teachers. These 4 areas will be very heavily invested by the CBSE, and in the next 5 to 10 years time, the entire schools under the CBSE umbrella should see a major change in all these areas, so that our country's educational standards and level will go to the next level. And from our learning and from our investment, other school boards across the country and other school system, particularly the schools in the government system, should also benefit. Thank you very much. I stop here. Now I leave it to Malini.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. I think that was the most comprehensive presentation that we've seen in a couple of years. And it just seems that our wish list has come true. And suddenly our question paper that we had made for you has also got solved automatically.
That is why I requested, before those questions, let me be allowed me to present it. Yeah.
Sir, but what is the principle without questions? So we've been a little clever and we've gathered questions from all the principals of the NPSC schools, and a lot of questions coming up in YouTube too. So I think I'll request all the members to quickly, shoot out the questions, because we should get maximum leverage. We managed to get Dr. Joseph after such a long time. So this is the opportunity. This is the time. I think we just need to go with blazing guns and ask those very, very difficult questions that we planned for him. Anju, may I request you, please?
Yeah, sure, Malini. So thank you, sir. Joseph, sir. You have very elaborately talked about the systemic changes and the CBSE mandate with regard to pedagogy, assessment, content, and capacity building. So we have slightly different questions, although related to all these 4 aspects. But our questions, my question, I would like to ask you the rationale behind the shift to 5+3+3 4 system, which needs more clarity. And I would like you to elaborate upon its implication to schools, infrastructure, teacher readiness, training, and other nature of assessments at this level.
Anjuji, this restructuring within the school system, it is only a number game. First 5 years, the focus should be on early childhood care and education. Next 3 years, 3, 4, and 5, the primary level. Then, 6, 7, 8, the middle level, and last stage, last 4 years is the secondary level. So, idea is to give focus to each area so that the children get maximum benefit. So, in India, particularly in the rural belt as well as in the government school system, children are completely neglected at the early years. Even the Anganwadis, you can visualize how it is early childhood care and education is happening in our system. So to give a more focused attention to this area and give equal opportunity to all, this system has been brought in. But for the CBSE system, almost every school is having pre-primary classes also, for nursery, KG, LKG, UKG. Many schools starts at age 3 itself. So for them, it won't make any difference. It's only a bifurcation. Early age 3 to age 8, one section, that is early childhood care and education. Then grade 3 to 5, another section. Then 6 to 8, another one. Then last secondary level. So it's only a bifurcation on paper, but otherwise your system will continue as it is. But once the NCERT comes out with formal curriculum for early childhood education and care, then that will mark difference in the way we approach the teaching, learning, and the child care in the early years. So maximum mental development, the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor skills are developed by the age of 8. So that opportunity should not be lost for every child in this country. That is the idea. But otherwise, in the system, it won't make much difference. Particularly with the CBSE school system, we can continue in the present way. And once the government has come out or the NCERT's National Curriculum Framework is ready, we can very easily adapt and adopt in our system.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Sir,
Dr. Joseph.
Sir, I want to ask you, Meenakshi, just a moment. Let me just continue with that in the same thread, because we talked about the system, new system, but when you showed us the presentation, it's very, very comprehensive. Lot of those projects, lot of them have already been in place. And of course, we've augmented many, many more, which means we are strengthening our teaching learning system. But we also know that there's a huge diversity even within the CBSE system, isn't it? So, and that came out very openly when we did our, board exam calculation, when we were calibrating our results. So all that came out quite openly, and it was worrisome. So would these teaching learning outcomes that we are now talking about and the strengthening of the assessment, will it really help in closing the gaps that currently exist in the teaching learning process in the schools? Because there has to be some parity amongst the CBSE schools as a larger fraternity, isn't it, under the umbrella of the CBSE? So any thoughts on that, sir? Do you think it would have enough teeth to fill up those gaps?
Definitely, ma'am, but it will take time. So gradually, we are on the way to achieve that, that level. So the most important aspect is to create an enabling environment. So every school is different, locality is different, background is different, socioeconomic and cultural background of the parents as well as the school system are different. So all of a sudden, you cannot impose any knee-jerking, change. Gradually, it has to happen. So that is why we are giving more focus on this SQA process, school quality assessment and assurance. So certain standards at every level, whether it is teaching, learning, whether it is assessment, whether it is capacity of the schools, whether it is infrastructure, whatever it is. So every school has to undergo this SQA process, and the SQA process will force every institution to adapt and adopt standards, whether it is teachers' standards, teaching, learning, and pedagogical practices in the school, developing of educational leadership. All those aspects, all those domains will be covered under SQA. So side by side, the teaching learning has to improve, pedagogical practices have to improve. Then the way we assess our children. So through the assessment, the effectiveness of teaching learning is going to be reflected. So, now the question papers are completely predictable in the board examination. If you and your children solve the question papers of the last 5-6 years, you will be clearly getting a trend. But this is going to change. But we can do it now also. But if we do it, our pass percentage will be nowhere near to our expectation, and our children will suffer. They will not be able to get admission into higher education institutions. That is why we are not, doing it right away. So slowly and steadily, we have to see all those, the pros and cons before coming to a complete change. So gradually we have to move forward, and by moving to the direction of competency-based education, we will be assessing every child according to his competency, the ability to connect with the real life, ability to apply the concepts learned in the real life scenario, as well as the cognitive and affective areas, how it is connected with the questions. So questions can be framed in those way. You can map certain competencies and skill set and the mental ability of the child, and accordingly questions can be framed. Then according to the predefined criteria, this analysis can also be done. But these type of questions will not be predictable, and if this practice has not been done regularly in the classroom as part of assessment, as learning and assessment for learning, our children will end up in meeting various problems in their examination, and results will not be as same as that of the present result you are getting now. So public acceptability will not be there. So for every change, first, before making every very small change, you have to make a big change in the minds of the people. That is what we have to achieve first. So acceptability. If there is no social acceptability, whatever changes you are aiming for, that will backfire. Like what has happened in the case of CCE, such a beautiful system, but our people were not empowered to exercise those delegated skills of school-based assessment in the classroom. They were not understanding the philosophy of continuous and comprehensive evaluation. So social acceptability has not happened across the school system. That is why we had to cancel it. So our present reform should not face that kind of a challenge. Gradually and steadily, it should achieve. But over a period of 5 years, through the capacity building of the school system and making the system aware. That is why, ma'am, I said, let me give a presentation first. I can reach out to many of you through this presentation. So you will also get an idea. Otherwise, through our personal conversation, many of you are aware. But, when I'm getting a platform, I thought, let me share for a wider group so that what we are planning and what is the purpose, what is the objective, so that there will not be any anti-incumbency factor when we roll out these schemes before the schools and the public.
Meenakshi.
Yeah. So, Joseph, sir, actually, you are talking about public acceptability and schools adapting the standard, etc. So I feel that schools will leave no stone unturned to do that. And we've all started doing all those things already. But the public acceptability happens or comes only when, the children are able to get into IITs and good government medical colleges, etc., etc. But unfortunately, what happens, the level of questioning is very different for the entrance examinations of those colleges and of CBSE. And hence, parents feel that nothing is happening in school. At least that's what they thought in when CCE happened. And now when NEP were coming and getting extended, such a pattern getting extended till class 12, how do you think that this gap between the CBSE exam and the entrance exam of the higher education centers is reduced so that the coaching centers don't thrive?
It's a very difficult situation and scenario you have put forward, ma'am. Let us understand what is the social scenario in our country. In our country, we are there are lakhs of school pass out every year, and how many seats are there in the engineering colleges and medical colleges? So demand is more, supply is less. So it's only a phenomenon of demand supply. So engineering seats now in the private engineering colleges, after the coming of so many private engineering colleges, the demand for engineering admission has come down. Similarly, when you increase the medical seats by opening new medical colleges, that will also meet with the same fate. But there is another big reason in the developmental phase of the child. So from early age onwards, the school system should help the learner to identify individualized attributes and talents. See, every person is not, born to become doctor or engineer. There can be good singers also, musicians also, management experts also. There are different areas wherein a person can excel. So first of all, every child's attributes, abilities, skill set, that needs to be identified. And for that, a concerted effort from early years is required. That is, here we are almost failing in the Indian school system. We are not able to support the child to develop his own pace in the learning continuum. That is one thing. Second, for doing this, there has to be flawless communication between parents and schools, and students and teachers. The whole ecosystem should be ready for that. So for that also, a lot of changes are required. Capacity building is required. So not only the cognitive areas, cognitive abilities, the affective and psychomotor areas also needs to be properly attended to from the early years onwards. So by doing so, we can help a learner to achieve learner's life goals by identifying various skill set and abilities attached to his personality or the life. Similarly, there has to be complete alignment between the school system and the higher education sector. So at present, there is a big gap, the job market and higher education and school education. This alignment should happen with the coming of the new NEP and opening of the doors with the international expertise and experiences available. So this realignment of school system and higher education system should also happen. You are aware, CBSE system from the last education policy onwards, we are open for all the subjects, but neither our school system nor the higher education system were able to take advantage of it, because our curriculum as well as scheme of studies says in class 11, one language or any four elective can be taken. But if a child takes 4 subjects of his choice, there is always challenges of vertical mobility, admission to the higher education institution, and at the same time, there are adequate opportunities are not available in the school system also, because the schools are also constrained to limit their subject choices because of the economic reasons as well as practical reasons. So there are many challenges. So to come out from this, there has to be a complete planning and alignment of school education with the higher education, and higher education and job market should happen. And it's a long dream. It's a very high ambition. Let us hope and wish that this will happen. But for aligning the entrance examination with the school-based assessment, that is possible if we bring the school-based assessment in a robust way, and if we are able to produce the result with the evidence that this child passed with this grade is competent enough to join in an engineering course. His aptitude and abilities are much better than the children from other board or something like that. If that kind of a mapping, or if we can create certificates of that value, then slowly and gradually the impact of entrances will come down. Instead of children going for entrance examination, they will invest more time in the school, and that will in turn help them to clear the entrance examination in a much smoother way. So we have to work. We have to work to that level. We have to develop our system to that level.
Right, sir. And I think rating of schools, as you said, would help in this.
Yes, that is the idea.
Yeah.
Sir, I have an easier question. It's
Yes,
about it's about relooking at practicals in the current scenario. With last year having gone completely online and we used OLabs, we did a lot of simulations. But going forward, do you think we can think of doing practicals in a somewhat different way? Maybe getting projects done, maybe getting collaborative projects done, using maybe art integration as well, so that we can test the practical skills of a child without actually having to enter a laboratory. Do you think that's doable, possible in some way?
Definitely it is possible, ma'am, but we have to carefully plan for it. So with a mass level involvement of schools and teachers, we have to carefully guide them. We have to develop a proper scheme, and then we can roll out. Even in many of the schools, many of you are doing project-based learning in your school, and in those schools where project is being prepared by these children themselves, actual learning is happening. So that gives hands-on experience to the children, that will connect children with the real life. All those things are happening. Then according to the ability of the child, you can rate the child on different parameters. That is happening. But whether all our affiliated schools are capable of doing that. So we cannot have a different strategy for different schools. But in the days to come, that is the way forward. We have to implement more and more project-based learning, then collaborative learning. All those things should come this year. Soon we will be coming out with the guidelines for alternative to practicals. So how to strengthen the practical examinations of 21 because of the pandemic scenario. But that will be further strengthened in the days to come. Even today, we have in class 10 examination restructured assessment scheme is there. But that is not very effective because interest merit of the children are not visible there. Here, the mark awarded are based on many other considerations other than merit. So when we take out the result, it only reflects a skewed performance of students. But whereas in the theory mark, that is not being reflected. Yeah. There is no alignment of theory mark with practical mark. There can be exception, there can be variation, but complete skewing to one direction will not help. So that means Aditi ma'am is giving mark to her children after looking at how Malini ma'am is awarding marks. In a lighter way, I am putting it up. Every school is looking at the other school, how they are awarding marks. So they are giving good marks, so our children should not suffer. So instead of an objective criteria, some other thing is taking over. That should not happen. So we have to bring some objectivity into it. And if this kind of fair evaluation and fair assessment happens, in fact, there is no need for any board examination. See, many school boards across the country, even American school boards, in some of the states in the United States, there is board examination. But otherwise, almost every school boards in the various states of the United States, they follow school-based assessment. But that school-based assessment is very robust, vibrant, and reliable. So to that level, our system has not grown. particularly because of the socio-economic situation prevailing in the third world or the developing countries. So we have to handhold our children a little more. But CBSE will be coming out with different strategies for helping its schools for assessing their children very objectively through the school-based assessment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph, for a very insightful presentation and very meaningful words, But the last question which I am putting up to you is a very practical question which most of the principals, face, and that is the irregularity of students at the +2 level. And the schools are not able to tackle their absence from the school. So we need to make certain reforms in the assessment patterns. So what kind of proposed multiple modes of assessment patterns for these class 12 and 11 students the board for the session 21-22 is going to be making? We all are waiting very desperately for these kind of assessment patterns to arrive from CBSE.
Due to the pandemic, a special assessment package is going to be announced by the board. We have been conducting a lot of consultation with all the affiliated schools and the school groups like in BSc. And we have received a lot of feedback. And the scheme will be announced very soon. But there will be continuous assessment. Year-long assessment will happen in the days to come. And this pandemic year will be a beginning. So 21-22 onwards, instead of one assessment at the year end, there will be different assessments at different intervals. And schools are also, and schools are supposed to conduct periodical assessments in the school and various project work, then subject enrichment activities, portfolio, everything needs to be developed at the school level, particularly for classes 9 to 12. Classes 9 and 11 will remain as an internal assessment, school-based assessment system. But for the 10th and 12th, schools will be asked to upload the assessment results on the CBSE portal. So it is going to be continuous. It is going to be regular. It is going to be diverse, like practicals, project, subject enrichment activities, all will be there. So just wait for a couple of days more. It is at the final stage. You will get complete details very soon. This will somewhat resolve your problem, but completely will not take away your worries, because what we have discussed earlier, the gap between the board examination and the entrance examination. Entrance examination, see, even when I was conducting entrance for the medical entrance, the main challenge was how to select 5,000 or 10,000 students out of this 15 lakh. So entrance examination is a kind of elimination round. You have to eliminate. But board examinations are a kind of inclusive assessment. So that makes the difference. But more and more alignment with competency-based assessment, both in school-based examinations as well as the entrance examinations, can bridge this gap. But nothing will work here. Nothing is perfect, because even if you do that, because as long as the demand supply problem persists, there will be people who will be coming into the market with various solutions to tap the opportunity. So as long as this demand supply exists, whatever you may do, to some extent, I don't know. Let us be hopeful. To what extent, whether we can completely align both school education as well as the assessment for the test for the entrance examinations. But to a large extent, we can bring parity and alignment.
Thank you so much, sir. And last question.
Hope you understood.
Yes, sir. But last simple question, that when NEP 2020 was launched, it spoke of establishing a national assessment center, the Parak. So when is it going to be launched? It's going to help us a great deal in capacity building of our teachers.
Yeah. A committee was constituted under the chairmanship of Chairman CBSE, and the committee has submitted its report. So again, it's a huge work. So the government has to take a call where to establish Parak and when to establish, and it's only a matter of time. But an assessment body will come that will assess all the school boards across the country and education system. And there will be a standard setting authority in every state. For example, CBSE will be the standard setting authority for Kendra Vidyalaya, Navodaya Vidyalaya, and CBSE affiliated schools. And those standards are being framed, which will be in public domain very soon. Similarly, for the Parak also, see what we are doing here, this qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis, CBSE's Center for Excellence in Assessment. That is a micro level intervention from CBSE's side. And this intervention at a national level will be the role of Parak. So the Parak will also undertake NAS like achievement surveys. Then now PISA is being taken care of by CBSE. So this kind of international assessment will also be managed by Parak. So Parak will take care of all the assessment strategies which are going to be implemented in the school education sector in the days to come. And it is also aimed to bring parity among the school system and the school boards, because the standards of CBSE and the standards of Bihar board and the West Bengal board or the Kerala board, everything has to be almost same. Then only the country's progress, will be at par. So this will be the responsibility of the Parak, and there was no such system existing in the country. So to bridge that gap, a visionary proposal has been made through the NEP. In very soon, Parak will be a reality, and all of us will benefit.
So, sir, coming back to that one important question that is still, despite you telling us that the persistent question that is being asked is about, will the syllabus be reduced this year also? A wee bit, not a lot, just a little bit to accommodate,
Yes. Again, thinking is going in that direction only, because last year it helped the school system a lot. And in the survey conducted by the CBSE among its affiliated schools, almost 80 to 90% schools have reported that the rationalization or reduction of syllabus has helped them to tackle the loss of learning time and also to avoid a learning gap. If syllabus is there completely, but if you are not able to cover, then also there will be learning gap. So a similar recommendation has been received this year also. Just wait for some more time. More clarity will be before you. A detailed notification will come.
So fingers crossed, sir. Fingers crossed for that.
You can take it positively. Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Sudha, are you coming in?
I think sir has answered all the question. So we can ask Anju ma'am to propose vote of thanks.
Yeah. So Anju, may I request you, sir's had a long day since morning and he stayed with us till it's 5:45. I'm so sorry, sir. We've crossed time. We promised that we would get over by 5:30. I know it's been a long day for you. So Dr. Tandon, may I please request you to propose a vote of thanks, please?
Sure. A formal vote of thanks, very short. So, Honorable Dr. Joseph Emmanuel, my esteemed executive members, principal colleagues, most valued teachers attending the webinar. It's indeed my privilege and delight to propose a vote of thanks to Dr. Joseph, Director, Academics, Central Board of Secondary Education. Sir, at the onset, I thank you for accepting my offer so very readily, as always, on behalf of NPSC. NPSC was very, very keenly awaiting to hear you on the role of CBSE in standardization of curriculum and assessment beyond COVID-19. I was just discussing with the chairperson the other day that Dr. Joseph would be the most appropriate and the person to talk to us on all these queries. And I thank you from the core of my heart, sir, that you did not take more than a second to say a yes and give your consent. I deeply appreciate your expert explanation on the very pertinent topics of school education dealing with the future schools, on new structures, that is 5+3+3+4, the curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, flexibility, and alignment with education, higher education. Your presentation gave us a very deep insight and some new insight into, I would say, a 360-degree coverage of NEP on school education. I'm sure it was a great learning session for all of us and for the effective implementation of NEP and for the betterment of our school. I assure you, sir, that we are all in support of CBSE and we are all aligned with its planning procedures. I once again want to state that we are all most grateful to you for joining us and sparing your valuable time and being with us. I thank you all, one and all present today in this webinar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you once
Thank you.
again, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anshuma. Thank you, everyone,
you.
for patiently listening.
Thank you. And we thank you on behalf of all those who joined on YouTube as well. And the numbers are constantly increasing. And of course, they'll get a chance to see your presentation once more, because that was a very, very important and a very comprehensive presentation, sir. Thank you so much.